Did you see where Katie Ledecky won a race by like 22 seconds?
I did not.
Her cap was off, her goggles were off, she was hanging on the rope, and then the second place person came like chilling. I mean, like, no, it was a distance race, so like, I think the margins on those are a bit longer than like a sprint.
No doubt.
But still, 22 seconds, like.
That's like Secretariat winning by
like
35 lengths or whatever. The Olympics coming up. I think it's a good time to kind of approach some of what is so different about that kind of competition versus if you play in the NBA or whatever, you have a game every 3 nights. And you'll have playoffs every year. When it comes to something like the Olympics, you can train for 4 years. If you're a sprinter, that race will last 10, 11, 12 seconds, depending you're man or woman or whatever. And it's, I remember seeing Michael Johnson talk about that very thing in an interview. He actually never won anything but gold at the Olympics. Won 4 gold medals. He ran the 400 and the 800, or maybe 200 and 400. That's what he ran. Multiple world championships.
200 is half a lap.
Not a track guy. Yeah.
200 is a half a lap and 400 is a
400 is full lap. Yeah, that sounds right.
I asked the people would know. Not everyone knows what those mean.
It's true.
They don't.
Yeah.
You didn't know.
I kind of knew.
All right. So anyway.
But anyway, he talked about, when he was asked, after the fact, what he missed about competing at that level, the feeling he would get. He's, the intensity of it, the nerves. He thrived on that, and he didn't run away from it. One of the things he said was his event takes 19 seconds, as he said, if you're good at it. And so he knows, like, in 19 seconds, I'm going to know, like, the meaning of these 4 years. Like, I'm either going to be an Olympic champion or I'm not. Being able to deal with that and still perform at a max level, that is different from, well, we lost today, but and get them again tomorrow.
I think specifically in track and field, like you said, like those short. It's not like a basketball game that's 40 or 60, however long basketball games are, or like you're going to hit X number of points before the game is over. The 100-meter sprint, 10 seconds.
Yeah.
One misstep, one misfire, and it's over. And you think like that Sha'Carri Richardson. I've she's all over just because she's kind of in your face. But I love watching her. She's a freaking beast of an athlete. There was I don't know if it was a trial. I guess it was something in the trials. I didn't watch it, but I saw clips of it. It was the 100-yard dash. I assume they don't call it that 100-meter. 100-yard dash sounds like elementary school, but whatever. Off the block, her second step, like she kind of stepped to the right a little bit. Easily could have just taken her and been like, oh, I messed up. Like I blew it. She fixed it and she ended up winning the race. I mean, not by a ton, but like she got through. Like it went from being like, oh God, she blew it, to she knew how in that short amount of distance and time to regroup and still get to that finish line, which I think is interesting. I have to imagine that the mental quickness of an athlete for something like that to bounce back has to be somewhat maybe different, or just a different firings of the brain.
Got to train that for sure. And the mistake you can make is a really small one.
Precisely.
Like, it's not like if you're playing basketball and you miss a couple of shots.
Right.
I can still come back.
Right.
My shot's not falling today. I can play really good defense.
Rely on my team. You're right. It's
those events are just so pressure packed. And even, something like gymnastics, you train, only get one chance in Olympics.
Yep.
So it's not just 4 years. This may be your entire life up to this point.
Yep.
And this is it. Cover of the Sports Illustrated Olympics preview issue is a thing Mo. She won 2 gold medals in the last Olympics, 1 world championship. That's next summer or that same year. 800-meter trials in the finals. She trips, falls, not defending her Olympic gold medal performance in the 800. And she's on the cover. It's almost like she was assumed that she was going to be there, which she won't be able to be there. And it was 19 when she won those gold medals. Here she is, 23. And it's not like her career's over or anything, but you just can't ever assume. And especially the way U.S. track and field picks their team. I mean, it is on that day, you better win. Be in top 3 or you're not in. You're not going to make it. And
it's not like, we know she could do better. She's done better before.
Right.
It's like, that was it.
Yep. On that day, you've got to do it.
Yep.
And which is, all these events on that day. And that's what makes it pretty captivating to watch, high drama for sure. It also makes it incredibly stressful and pressure packed for athletes. And I guess some of that is what I like talking about.
Yeah.
It's like, Simone Biles caught some flack the last time, like for being mentally weak. Some people saying that, which I was not in favor of that approach. Like something,
Of that commentary or her?
yeah, that
Right.
commentary for sure.
Yeah, I struggle with that one because it's like part of me wants to say like you're an Olympian, like,
Yeah, suck it up or whatever.
and not even suck it up, but like I would think by now you have the mental fortitude to get through this. But I also totally saw the side of her argument, which was these tricks or skills that I'm doing. If I'm not 1,000% sharp,
Right.
I'm either dying or I'm in a wheelchair the rest of my life.
Right.
But yeah, I mean that's when you think about it from that perspective of it's not just like, oh, I don't feel like doing this today or I'm just feeling stressed. It's like
Yeah, that was not it.
if I'm not so
Right.
sharp on those, because she doesn't just do your average
No.
gymnastics skills, right? Like she's got the ones named after her because she's tried something no one else has tried before. So
Right. Exactly.
having that mindset to be able to just make your body do it, let alone land it, let alone not kill yourself in the process.
Well, having grown up in PE classes where they made us do gymnastics, I've got some experience. Sorry, I couldn't resist. I hated that unit every year we had it.
Oh,
And
I always loved it.
I remember like trying to walk across a balance beam. Couldn't even do that.
Oh,
And
so you had a hard time with it.
oh
That's
yeah,
why
I was
you didn't
terrible
just
at
think you were like too
it.
macho for it. You
No,
just
no.
couldn't do
I
it.
was not.
Got it.
Like there's a reason gymnasts are like 5 feet tall and weigh
For sure.
90 pounds or
For sure.
whatever, and they're not a foot taller and
Right.
100 pounds heavier. Oh yeah, I was not comfortable at all with. I can't imagine doing a flip on a balance beam.
No.
Like what?
Just the
I
stuff
can't
on
even
the
walk across one.
right.
So the complexity of these movements combined with the pressure of
Yeah. And
performing.
gymnastics too seems to typically be what I would consider children,
Yeah, they're quite young.
right? Like
Yep.
so it's not just the physical skills, but having that mental fortitude at that age to achieve.
Plus, none of us knows what it's like to be performing
No.
with tens of thousands of people watching there,
But
millions of people
on
watching
TV.
from all over the world, and we're 18.
Well, I think too from the spectator's perspective, it's like if we're talking about gymnastics, and I'm picturing balance beams. So like the camera is in on her on the beam, and sure we see people in the background, but I think as a spectator on your couch, you almost feel like you're the only one watching her.
Sure, yeah.
Right? Like people are there, it's a big thing, but like I think you don't really have like the person who's like, oh, she didn't quite stick it or she didn't quite whatever. Like your little couch opinion in Raleigh, North Carolina holds no water for that girl on the balance beam or her on the bars. It's her in her own head, probably for starters, and then everything else just layered on top of it. And I think we don't really appreciate the magnitude of just
Well,
imagine standing in a room with that many people just watching you doing nothing, just standing there. Everyone's eyes are on you.
right.
Not performing, just standing.
You
And
can't even
everyone's
walk
looking
into
at
a
you.
room and you're nervous
Right.
and
Like,
self-conscious.
nope.
Yeah. Never mind trying to perform some death-defying feat.
Precisely.
That's interesting because also in this issue, an article on Suni Lee, who was the gymnast who kind of took Simone Biles' place in the all-around and wound up winning gold medal. And it talks about health issues with her kidneys afterwards, but the notoriety where there was nowhere for her to hide. Like she wanted to go to college and she couldn't. She wound up having to do it all online because she'd go in the cafeteria there and people were taking videos of her eating, putting them online. And, for a young woman trying to navigate all that and maintain your sanity, never then the health issues and she talks quite openly about the pressures and expectations that are, just debilitating.
Yeah.
And so now going into the Olympics second time with now everybody knows who she is.
Right.
Whereas before, not nearly so. And some people are assuming she's already won gold once. Yeah. In the two events that she really liked, she didn't win gold. So it's almost like the gold medal in the all around didn't even count or something.
Really wanted the other ones instead.
Which that shows the nature of this, like the whole performance outcome emphasis. And there's a reason this woman's on the cover. Mm-hmm. It's because she's already got 2 Olympic gold medals, World Championship. And if she has nothing, nobody knows who she is. So on the one hand, you're like, well, I'm going to feel sad for someone who's won the gold medals. On the other hand, like when you realize what goes along with that, that's where like the fear of success thing lies. Because with success comes greater expectations, greater notoriety. There's nowhere to hide.
Right.
She wound up taking a long break from running. And she talks quite a bit about when she ran her best, it was running with joy. She loves to run and not being so concerned with have to
Just
win this
win.
race, win gold medal. And it's interesting the way a lot of these people talk about how they feel after they win a gold medal. And I think the statistics given were about almost 73% of gold medal winners retire after they win a gold medal.
After they, I think the first one, I guess.
The 20, whatever, 7% that come back and do it again. I mean, they have to deal with plenty in terms of what other people expect from you. And those are all thoughts that are very distracting and crippling in terms of you being able to perform your best. And when we start thinking about what other people will think of us, what they expect of us, what they want from us. And like when Michael Johnson, when I was watching him in that interview, the interviewer asked him, like, you have to know, like, pre-race, like, you're aware, one, all these people are watching.
Right.
Two, don't win. There's no Wheaties box,
Right.
And one thing was interesting. He was talking about his shoes, and he had his contract with Nike. They brought this new pair of shoes, and they were kind of reflective, silvery. He loved them, and his coach wasn't too thrilled with him. And like, all they're going to look like is silver shoes. You want to be wearing silver shoes?
Oh.
So then he asked the Nike rep, can I get
gold.
those in gold? Without even thinking of what the ramifications of that decision were.
Right.
Like, and so he was asked, did you feel any added pressure? He goes, well, I don't think that way. I was going there to win. So the fact that he could look really foolish wearing gold shoes with a bronze medal around his neck. That's not. And he said, like, that's all of that stuff was not entering into my pre-race thinking, and that's where
Well, and surely not by chance either. By
absolutely,
like
you took the words right out of my mouth.
Just like not think about it.
Exactly. Like there was. Well, I'll just think about something else.
Right.
Like that's not.
That wasn't a very intentional.
Yeah.
Separation of that thought that came in real quick, and then nope, not even gonna let that.
Well, and all those people at that level, it's not like they've left their thoughts to chance.
Sure.
Well, I sure hope I'm into it on race day.
Yeah.
Like
not a choice.
And I know his first Olympics, he talked about he got food poisoning and could not.
Can you imagine?
Perform,
the
way he wanted. So he wound up no medal. And they suggested he speak to a sports psychologist, and talked at length about, I got out of there like in 2 minutes. Like I realized immediately, this is not helping me.
Right.
It doesn't matter like what my relationship with my mom was like when it comes to helping me be the best sprinter I can be.
Yep.
And so that's what he wanted from someone who was coaching him, was to help him have tools and skills to use so that he can be his best on this day.
On this very day.
And,
when this is the goal today.
Yes. And so he worked with a guy named Trevor Moad. Trevor Moad used to be at IMG and had Michael Johnson come in and talk to some of the athletes there. Yeah, the whole idea of training, not including the mental part of it, is, well, it's unworkable. Like if you're going to be a high performer, however you want to phrase it. And I think at younger or lower levels, so much of what athletes or and it doesn't have to even be related to sports, anybody who's trying to be the best they can be under some pressure, usually they only seek help out like when they're really struggling, falling apart, I'm losing it, breaking up. But there's another whole side of it beyond just getting to like neutral or zero.
Gotta get the other side.
Yeah,
the preparation anticipation type,
where you are literally weaponizing your thoughts to help you produce this elite level performance under the most pressure possible. And that's where all these things. Like I remember reading about Michael Phelps, and Bob Bowman was his coach from the time he was like really young, and he had him visualize everything that could possibly happen in a race, including having his goggles fall off. Keep going without pausing, and that did happen in one of these races where it was like margin of error, and there's a sprint kind of race.
Yep.
It's just fractions of seconds,
right.
And he talks about it afterward, like it just kept right on going. Like I saw it already, I was ready for it in my mind. When it happened, didn't blink, just kept going. And so that's the kind of training that ultimately produces these kind of performances.
Well, I think about, like, I feel like I've used this example before, but I think about initially you saying her running with joy, and that was when she was most successful and having fun. Like when which is very infrequently now, but like when I go play volleyball now, like I don't have any pressure. I'm just out there to play. Right. And some days I think that some of my skills are so much better now than when I was like theoretically at my prime, practicing every single day, or my ability to get a ball or read something is like, because I'm just out there having fun. Like I'm doing something that I love because I don't have the chance to do it in that same way anymore. And so I'm just like having the best time I can and going at it. And I think about like one of my college coaches, for whatever reason, if we weren't like working hard enough or to her satisfaction, she would jump in and like show us how she could do it herself. Which I always thought was really stupid, but it pissed me off because she would go in there and she would do it. I'm like, damn it, like why are you, But like I also realized too, like when you don't have theoretically like any skin in the game, it doesn't matter. Right. Like you play distraction free, you play stress free, you play pressure free because you're just playing and you're like, I'm pretty sure now when I play, all it is me and my arsenal of skills, and that's it. Nothing else jumping in to get in the way. And you think about just like that example of like walking into a room and 10,000 people are watching you or whatever it is, tens of thousands of people, frankly. Like, sure, would that still be somewhat intimidating just to walk in? Yes. But like if I go to an open gym now and I go play, like I'm expecting everyone thinks I'm just the old washed up woman with 2 kids playing volleyball, and so I'm like, oh, whatever. Like if that's my level, the bar I have to meet, like cool, I'll meet that bar. That's fine. And it's amazing to me how like a skill that I don't practice, I practice every single day for 10 plus years, and sometimes I can't jump as high now. I can't probably hit as hard, but like defensively, I think I'm better now. It's really dumb. Like that to me seems so silly, but it's just I think you were like eliminate some of those outside pressures, stressors, concerns, expectations, and suddenly it's just you and your skills.
Which no one gets to compete under those conditions if they're.
That's the thing. You don't know that that's possible, right?
And heck, I remember it was a couple of years ago. I was when I coached the club volleyball team, and we're in Orlando for a qualifier and go to Top Golf. So I'm just chilling, sitting back there. I don't play golf, and then kids ask, "You get up and take a swing." So all of a sudden, I was like ready to gag all over myself. Right. Not wanting to look stupid. I know I'm being filmed.
Oh, sure.
I haven't swung a golf club in decades, and I had to go through like a whole mental checklist of
a bunch of 16-year-old girls giving you shit about it.
Quieting my mind and biochemistry, and so I could just kind of swing nice and easy.
Yep.
And if I didn't know how to do all that, there's no telling where that ball would have gone.
For sure.
But I just kind of nice and easy. It was went straight, nice and smooth. People were kind of surprised. I was a little surprised myself.
Glad you made it through that experience.
But it was like, all that is, can you imagine what it's like to take a swing under like real pressure, millions of dollars riding, millions of people watching,
totally.
Or you're in the Olympics where it's not the Masters where you get to come back the next year. Like it's 4 more years, and you may, if you're lucky, participate in 2 Olympics. It's a miracle, 3 Olympics, and you either go down in history as like the grand champion or a choker. Or, I mean, you're risking everything in terms of your identity and worth. What people know about you, what they bother to know about you. Right. That's why these articles, and I highly recommend this issue, Sports Illustrated Summer Olympics Preview. There's so many articles in there. I know I said earlier it was like reading a sports psych textbook or something. Letting you kind of know what these people are dealing with, what any competitive athlete is going to deal with, any competitor period is going to deal with. Yep. But when it's these conditions are dramatic. There's a reason people tune in and watch this stuff when they,
100%.
like you said, you don't watch track and field every weekend.
Right.
I don't either. But we'll be watching.
That's my favorite. It's one of my
end
favorite
of this
events.
month.
Yep.
And I mean, there's like gymnastics. I never even think about gymnastics. Well, we'll be watching gymnastics.
Yep.
So that's like a hint of a taste of what goes on. And you have someone like Thing Mao, who nobody knows who she is. She's a teenager. Next thing you know, everyone knows who she is.
Yep.
She can't walk around in public without people coming up to her. And how are you supposed to manage that? I remember me at 19. Holy cow! I mean, barely sentient, and let alone being able to do what these people do and deal with what they have to deal with. So learning the value of that, the impact of that kind of mental work. I know it's just strange when you listen to them, like when they get to play with joy, enjoy the process, love the process, they perform better.
Yeah.
I know the one sprinter that was in here, I can't remember her name, Gabby Thomas. But she talked all the whole one-page article on her, and she is going back to defend her gold medal. About the joy of training, the love of the process, and that's what produces these top of the line performances for her. And Michael Johnson, when asked that question, he was like, "Those are exactly the things you don't think about. Is who's watching, what the ramifications of the outcome are, and instead, for him, he had a little 4-statement thing: head down, pump your arms, explode, I'm a bullet. That's 4 things he would think before every race, because you got to be thinking about something. You will,
right? You can't just block.
And that's why over the years he kind of honed this whole pre-race thought plan, so that when the time came, he had the skills to
attack.
And then perform those physical capabilities, which all of that requires this, like every planet lining up, where your physical and emotional and mental states are all
firing on all.
Yep.
Yeah. I saw a clip of speaking of track and field still, a hurdle racer. And it was somewhere in the trials where everyone who was in that heat was going to advance anyway. So it didn't really matter. And so she jogged it. Dead last. And they interviewed her afterwards, and she said, well, my warm-up didn't go as well as I hoped it would. I knew we were all advancing, and so I just didn't want to risk injury or anything.
Gotcha.
And I'm sure she had a team of people who made that decision all together. I'm sure she didn't just like, I think I'm just going to, chill this one out. But you also have to realize, too, that, like, when you're in the Olympic trials, like, was that the most sound decision? 100%.
Yep.
If you're going on regardless, don't hurt yourself. But you also have, like, the mindset of, well, everyone's watching, like, does everyone agree with this? Does everyone think this is a good idea? Like, do I look stupid? Do I look, and then being able to go to the next race that really matters and then get back in that mindset of race mode, go mode. Like, sure, we all have days where our bodies don't quite feel right or, like, but, like, they have a very strategic process for everything to know, like, we're ready. All right. It's like you get captain getting in his plane, like, or pilot getting in his plane, like, checking all the gears and all the whatever freaking dashboard they have in their airplane. Like, I think athletes have that same, and it's not just the physical, it's the mental, it's the, like, being able to arrive ready in full go mode for success, especially, I mean, all athletes, sure, but especially at this level of the Olympics.
Well, in these events where it's literally fractions of seconds determining history one way or the other. And I mean, like, I think Mo, she tore her hamstring, wasn't able to compete in these races, afterwards. And you just don't know. It's not like, like Patrick Mahomes, he rolls an ankle at the end of the half in the Super Bowl. Well, he's got a half hour to get taped, and he may not be 100%.
Might not be feeling great, but he
can still go be a beast.
Right. And he has a team around him to know to do try to do extra things to make sure that he's not having to.
And that's not what this is.
No.
Like, everything's got to be like perfect.
Well, then on that example of Katie Ledecky winning by 20 seconds, like, I also have to imagine you have to have the mindset when you go into the race against other people that were not in that race that you smoked by 20 seconds. Like, I feel like in my mind, I'm like, all right, well, she beat the whole group by 20 seconds. Like, she's got it in the bag. She's going to go win the gold medal. But she also has to get back in that same whatever distance race that was when it actually matters, when the Olympics are on next week or week after, to let that, like, oh, I won by 20 seconds, not even
Yep,
invade
that's
her
done.
space.
Yep.
That has nothing to do with what's about to happen now. And I think that's on the flip side of like, I'm over prepared or I'm under prepared or I'm not feeling my best. Like, just because you won by such great margins in the trials against other American swimmers,
Yep.
whole different heat racers when you show up somewhere else, and it can't even be part of her prep thought process.
Yeah, no question.
But
Well,
everyone's gonna be talking about it.
oh
I
yeah,
guarantee
and
when
they'll
she
assume she should win.
in the pre-heat commentary when we're watching, they're going to be talking about that. What if she doesn't?
Well, and that's where, like I know Suni Lee was talking about that in this article. There's no like when if she was going to be a college gymnast, if you're not getting tens and everything and winning national championships, then you're failing. And if you're winning, well, yeah, you already won a gold medal.
Yeah.
Like there is no
right.
You can't win either way.
Right.
And that's where all of us watching these people, their worth and value and interest to us is their performance outcome.
Totally material.
And it is very easy for any competitor to be aware of that.
Yep.
Know that these results matter. But that's when like, and you listen to these people like Suni Lee, she's talking about like almost can't wait till this is over.
Yeah.
She's young, 22 or whatever.
Yeah.
And so she can just live like a
life.
normal life, and I can eat what I want and go shopping where I want. And,
right.
But that's because who knows how old she was when she started this whole 4, 3, whatever.
Right. Well, and the unfortunate part is even when she's done with this and she's shopping and eating what she likes, people are going to have comments about that too.
Yeah.
You look at Michaela Maroney from 2016, maybe. I don't know what year. Like, killer athlete. Now people have all things to say about what she's posted on the internet and what her body looks like and all. And like, she shouldn't look like she used to look.
No.
Like that shouldn't be. And it's just it's sad because these athletes know that what they're putting their bodies through, their minds through, is probably definitely much higher than your average person and what they have to deal with, and the sort of desperation to reach the end, which is sad because this sport is their life, and they're like, I can't wait till it's over. That part in itself is like, well, damn, that kind of sucks. But especially with social media these days and NIL stuff and all this and that with college athletes, like, it's never really over.
No, I think women athletes in particular, I know I was listening to a podcast on the way over here, shocker.
I'm floored.
John O'Sullivan's podcast, Changing the Game Project. Highly recommend. We had a guest on there a couple weeks ago, Katie Steele, who she's got a new book out, The Price She Pays, Confronting the Hidden Mental Health Crisis in Women's Sports, which I'm going to get later today.
And you'll finish it by lunchtime tomorrow.
Yeah. But she was talking all about her experience as a college athlete, and then she goes from, she was a runner, running with joy and loved running, which I can't relate to any of that, but I guess
Same.
Some people do that.
It's weird.
Yeah, that's crazy talk. But then all of a sudden in a college setting, even though it's like same coach there for a little while, different dynamic, pressure, competing against teammates. And then afterwards, this whole like her worth and who she was and what people think about every part of her. It's very stressful. And I think I think men don't have to go through some of that physical judging like women do. And I think all of that can only be addressed by having someone or having a really good sense of who you are as a person.
Yeah. What
is meaningful and valuable in this world and in your life. But when you're asking an 18-year-old to have all that figured out,
right?
Like good luck. That's really difficult. And that's
Right.
where like parents are so important. Coaches, so important. Coaches with ethics and who
Yep.
care about their athletes as people. That's crucial uh, for the athlete's mental health. Because I do think it's harder than ever to pull this off and
Right.
still be well adjusted. And
Totally.
you didn't have to grow up with like social media like at every turn.
Right.
You know, Suni Lee, she talks about it in this article. She was addicted to seeing what people were saying about her,
Oh,
and that's heartbreaking.
yeah.
Because even if 98% of what's being said about her
It's
is
great.
just wonderful,
Right.
that
That's not what she's
2%,
focusing on.
right? That 2% is what we
Yep.
remember.
Well, it's like on the body image thing. It's like someone could show you 25 pictures where you look great,
Yep.
and then one where you think that that's a weird angle for you, and that's the one you give a crap about.
Sure.
And it's like that's what we focus on. We're focused on the negatives. We focus on the things that, in the most cases, whether it's a mental thing or a physical thing, maybe we can't change or we have no control over. But yet we still harp on those things. It's like kind of wired to
Well, that's our
be
negativity
self-critical.
bias that
Right.
we all pretty much have, and that's where being able to have skills to and perspective to deal with those pressures. I every now and then, read about an athlete who's Mike Trout. I remember reading about him and his parents and how just like perfect they were for him, and where he was able to play and compete and learn and risk failing without having nothing in the toolbox to deal with all of that pressure. And I think that's parents with perspective and helping their kids have an identity outside of their sport or their musical instrument or whatever performance it is. With academics, I mean, that can all of that stuff. If your identity is all wrapped up in like I'm a straight A student, then the first time you get a B, what, or you're a straight A student, then you go to college where everybody's a straight A student. Then what?
Yeah.
And who you are has to be about more than that. But it's easy to say, like, I want to be rich, I want to be famous, I want to be super successful. What's very interesting is reading this article. All these people are like ridiculously successful in what they do, and yet they talk about the aftermath and how it affected them, how they struggled with it. So it's not the guaranteed key to happiness. Like if I win this event, whatever it is, business presentation, AP exam, track meet, then I'll be happy. Well, none of that is that's not true. Exactly right. Like, well, you're only as good as your last. If that's it, and we talked a little bit about our history where we win a state championship, and then I mean, it's almost like for me, for sure, I was relieved. Thank goodness,
Yeah, I do recall a lot of it was not so much like
joy.
Yay, good job. It was like, thank God.
Yeah. Total disaster if we lose, and it's really not a great way to do this, and when you have one life, being able to enjoy it, enjoy these moments, enjoy this process, that's where these people talk about loving what they're doing, and then the outcomes become what they are seeking, rather than that's all I think about every day is winning a gold medal. That's hard.
Right. I mean, I think about back to track and field. Like, I'm pretty sure a track and field athlete doesn't train any less than a basketball player whose game right. Like,
quite sure. Yeah.
And so you just like you better freaking love running to put that much effort and time into something that takes 11 seconds. Like, I don't think you have a choice but to be doing it because you love it. I mean, I'm sure, like, yes, you're going to have those mindset of the gold medal, but like to go on and keep pushing it and not just be like, all right, it's not worth it, or I'm tired, or it's not like, I have to imagine there's got to be a big percentage of you that is, I love doing this. And then the outcome becomes that. I mean, I'm sure, sure there are also the pressures of like, you watch the parents of these Olympians, like you watch gymnasts because that's what you see a lot. Parents who can't watch.
Right.
Or like every move, they're like, ground, like it makes you laugh, but like, probably the pressure's on them too. They feel like, I mean, if their kid out there, something they put their own lifetime into.
Well, and they, if nothing else, they are keenly aware
Of the
of
pressure
what
of their
that
kid.
kid is feeling
Right.
and what they have
100%.
gone through for the last however many years.
Right.
You know, there's just no way you can sit there and watch.
Just,
like, well, good job.
Right.
You know, that's,
Yeah.
I can't really, I have no
I
concept
mean, I
of
watched
what it would.
my daughter perform a beam routine that she practiced about 7 times in a 2-week period, and I was like, oh shoot, she forgot. You know, like, she's 6.
Yeah, whatever. There's no escaping that. I think you just have to get good at being able to deal with it and help your child deal with it, or your spouse or friend or whatever it is that they're involved with. We take something that we start doing because we love doing it. Somewhere along the way, our whole identity and it just becomes poisoned somehow. And you know, it's like when in these club volleyball settings where these kids, they start playing volleyball because they love playing. Then at a certain age, we're all of a sudden college recruiting, and I mean, I literally, why do you play? To get a scholarship. I mean, I've had teenagers say that, and I think you should still be playing because you love playing. That's what I think.
Especially at 16.
But that can become an enormous amount of pressure and very distracting, and it can suck all the fun out of what you're doing. And you hear, kids burn out and they stop playing. Sometimes they burn out in their first year in college. Boom, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And trying to keep this in perspective while still like pursuing excellence and playing freely so that you can produce your best possible performances. I mean, it's a real tightrope, and it requires thought and planning and training in the same way that you would train in the weight room to get stronger, or so you can jump higher, or whatever. For these elite level performers, they leave nothing to chance, whether it's physical or skill set or mental, regardless of the level of performance. If we want to have the best possible experience, I just finished reading a book on flow. That's the key, is allowing yourself to just be immersed in the experience and love the experience. Then you kind of produce this unconscious performance. And I think that's really hard to do if you haven't done a lot of work with yourself as a person, and
to be able to let yourself do that.
Who you are, why you're doing it, how will you handle failure? What does failure even mean? How will you handle success if you get everything you want? Who are you? Who will you become on this journey? I think that's what is crucial in terms of being able to maintain your mental health through all of this. And it doesn't matter if you're a 12-year-old piano player, 45-year-old businessman who's got to walk into a room full of peers or more than peers and nail this presentation. So you score this contract, so you get this bonus, so you can buy the summer home in the Hamptons, whatever. The ability to be in that moment, distraction free, and just rely on your training and do it. It doesn't happen by accident. So I this, when you said you wanted to talk about the Olympics, and I just happened, this magazine came in the mail. Just the more I started reading it, I said, well, I got something to talk about. The first minute that I opened the magazine, and then it was, the more I read, it was just incredible. That's why we do this. Like, if we can help in any way to assist people as they move through whatever their journey is. I wish I would have been better at my journey. Now I just try to be as good as I can be at this.